Riverside Radio.
I represent it.
The information station changing the nation.
I'm not familiar with that. What was that? Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Thank you for that. Always learning something new. If you in this life and you think you know everything, you don't know nothing. Okay? Because I know a lot, but I know I only know just that much to where I'm going. I'm 51 years old. I just turned 51 October 27th. And I feel like I still got, Oh, she's 20th. But I'm always wanting to know more. And the reason why our people suffer, because they don't want to know more. They just want to know what's been told to them. They don't want to go to this and read it for themselves. You know, you teach, right? You teach all day long, but they want to come to you and, hey, tell me everything from A to Z. You can't do that. That's impossible. What you could do is say, this is where I got the information from. Here it is. You go read it. You might find an interpretation that I missed. That's called building and collaborating. And that's one of the things our people have a hard time doing it. I'm Akiem Barber. That is the name that my mom gave me, Akiem. The reason why I got the name Akiem, because my father was a 5%er when I was born. He was running the streets. I don't know if y'all familiar with 5%ers, right? He's not that anymore. He's a Jehovah's Witness now. Staunch Jehovah's Witness now. That's what I was raised as, a Jehovah's Witness. But I got my name because he was 5% at the time, and she liked the name, and that's what he was calling himself. But his actual name is Gregory Barber. You can look me up on the internet. I'm an open book. See what I'm about. But I think the name Akiem means wise one who knows. And I've always wanted to know more. Like my father used to get tired of me asking questions. You know, you always ask, remember that show? Some of y'all might know it. It's called the 100,000 Pyramid. It was about questions. Say, you the 100,000 Pyramid, you always asking questions. And when I was young, I thought of, it used to bother me when they would say that, but now I'm happy I was like that, But first, before I do anything, this is something new I'm starting. I always like to say what I'm grateful for, because that opens up your spirit to receiving more. And what I mean by more information, not money. Yes, I want more money, of course. I think everybody in this room want that. But I want the spirituality first, and then the money comes second. All that falls into place. Remember that in your life, always seek higher spiritual knowledge. And sometimes you have to go to different places to piece it all together, because these boys done took these information, and you were saying it in your sermon the other day, it's over here, it's over there, and you are exactly right. It's like that. Like you have what you call the King James Version of the Bible, right? But that's just one aspect of a greater spiritual knowledge. It's not all to it. Now, you might hear me referencing that Bible because that's what I was raised on. But I don't agree with some of the things now that I have a higher understanding to things, Best believe when I leave here, I'm gonna do a full check on what he talking about with y'all and what y'all teach here. Because I know I'm gonna get something there to add on to what I already know, right? So what I'm grateful for, I am so grateful that you guys brought me here today to share this knowledge. I am so grateful that I'm living prosperous and peaceful. I have a very peaceful life. I'm so grateful I don't have a job to go clock into since 2014. All the money I earn is from my teachings, what I do, my website. And some people, well, why are you charging your people to help them learn? Well, if a man don't pay for his way, he's not going to appreciate it. If I just say, here it is, and I sit there, now two things has happened. I'm giving, you not giving, and the cycle is broken. Money is a currency. That means it got to flow. It got to come out of my pocket and come back into my pocket. One of the things I like is Reverend Ike. He said, never say you spend money. You want to say you circulate it. Just like the blood in your body, it circulates. It goes start at one point and comes right back to that point again. But when you put that, whatever you put out, you have to say the affirmation. I give you this money with it so that it can circulate back to me tenfold. And that's a command. I'm making a demand on my money. When it go out, it's going to come back. And I'm going to tell you, it works. I command what I want to happen. Reason why? It was written in the scriptures. It said, when the first man and woman, if that, to me, that's an allegory. It said, go forth and have dominion over all things. So what does that mean? Everything I touch, I need to have dominion over it. Not control and domination like Hitler or something like that. I mean, control in a peaceful manner that everything I'm dealing with is in peace and harmony with myself and everybody I'm coming in contact with. So one of the things our people are lacking is serious, good knowledge. Without knowledge, you can get $1 million and be gone. I've seen this. I've seen people get a lot of money and it's gone within a year. I'm talking millions because they didn't have the knowledge on what to do with the money. All they thought, they had a spend mentality. Let me go give it back to the same people that gave it to me. Now I give it back into the community and have it come back. So there it is. That's what I'm grateful for. And I like a few of y'all to join me. What y'all grateful for? You know? Somebody volunteer before I pick you. That's it? That's all you grateful for? That's good. How about you, young lady? Brittany, right? Right, Brittany. All right. Anybody else? Family? Good. Good. Brother right there in that dark blue shirt. Someone told me to ask you what you grateful for. Huh? I don't know why I told me to call you, but I called you. How about you, brother next to him? Okay. You see what that does when you start talking grateful, everybody get lighthearted and it just opens up the room. That's spirituality right there. Spirituality ain't, don't fornicate, that's not spirituality. Those are just rules. Because if you have spirituality, you don't know what to do. Nobody got to tell you not to fornicate, not to sleep with somebody's wife, not to steal. Because if you're coming from a place of spirituality, you already know what you need to do. No one has to tell you. See, the theologians took the Bible and they made all these rules because if you study Yahshua, what they call Christ or Jesus, he never said what somebody was doing wrong. It was the scribes and the Pharisees that was pointing things out to people. Yo, he doing this. Do you know who this woman is touching you? And he's like, so what? You more. If I was him, see, they kind of dumbed down some of that language in the Bible because if I know that Christ had probably thought to his mind, he said, these old hypocrite old Negroes, he probably used some harsher words. They sitting here talking about this woman and they doing all kind of crap. They robbing and stealing from the people. If you go back and you really study the scripture, you can say this language was changed from the original context of what it was. So let's get into it. All right, do we have any business owners in here? 1, 2, 3. What type of business you got? Okay, I'm gonna have to correct you on that. Never say it's small. Okay? All right? Right, there you go. No, don't do that to yourself. I got a small business because you know what you're saying? Your word, the Bible says have dominion. You gotta have dominion over your words. So if you say small, it's gonna stay that way. How much you want it to be big, right? So you should have said, I got me a big transportation company. Worldwide, international. It's okay. It's not that you're lying, because you're not. because that's what you expect. So you have to speak into existence what you want as if you already have it. I say that regularly in the shower. Hey, I'm so grateful I'm a millionaire. My bank account don't represent that right now. You know, it's very close, but I say that because the moment I say those things, all of a sudden I go to my website, people that went to my website, did business with me. Some people call, hey, you know, we talked about 10 months ago and we talked about this $1,500 I didn't have at the time. I got it now. You see what I'm saying? This is knowledge. This is higher science knowledge that the theologians did not want you to know. Because as long as you didn't know it, they can control you. You have to speak what you want now. You want a husband, you want a good husband, you got to speak. Oh, I'm so grateful I got me a great husband, even if you're not married right now. Same thing with you guys. I'm so grateful I got me a great wife who wants to work with me and build with me. Not argue with me every time I speak. You know, you have to speak to that. Now, if you don't have that in your life right now and you're seeing something different, you got to check this. It ain't her or him. You got to check this because something in here is bringing that to you or bringing that out of her or him. Everything starts here. You have to have a dominion over from top to bottom, all of this, in order to see everything you're seeing right now. You being right here is a manifestation of what was already in your mind before it already happened. For you to be here, you had thought about it. Everything starts with thought. If you want to say it, God is thought. And he gave you that power to do what he did. Just so some people, well, you saying, are you trying to say I'm God, Akiem? That's exactly what I'm saying. Not the all in all God. What does dominion mean? You got to have. I know I sound like I'm preaching to you, but I can't reach you unless I reach that spiritual nature. So here we go. Let's get started. I always like to start with this because this here is a nice icebreaker. It's a definition. And I want to know how many black people we got in this room today? Huh? Wow. I'm impressed because I'll be having almost the whole room raising their hand when I ask that question. The whole room would ask, like, y'all not black? Y'all not black? Now, I'm going to have somebody read this, and I'm going to pick him out. Brother Ray back there. Take that to him. And then you can pass it on. We're going to look up the word American. And the first word is black. Read that nice and loud. I mean, so everybody can hear that. Let me tell you what dictionary that is. You, bro. I'm picking on you because you have a different shade, and I want you to read that because that comes out with more force from you than it would come from me or anybody that looks like me. Huh?
The word black?
Black. Read it out loud.
Black. Black, pale, wine, livid.
Nope, slow down. Go back and read that again.
Black, pale, wine, livid.
Wine and livid is deviations of pale and bleached. But go ahead.
To become pale, to turn white, to become black, to blacken. Pale man.
Right there. I think we got the point, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, that's Noah Webster's original dictionary. He was a Christian because his history of his life, his biography is in the beginning of that dictionary. And he knew that they were switching up words. And he wanted to let everybody know what the original, that's a white man that wrote that. That ain't no brother. He wanted to keep the original definitions so that we can know what the words were originally. Now, if you go online and look up that word, they're going to change the meaning. Like, that same dictionary is in PDF form online, but they took out all the stuff that show you the truth. So when you got these people calling Black Lives Matter, black this, black that, and then they wonder why they're getting shot in the street because they're calling them something that they are not. So if you are not that, right? If you're calling yourself a fiction, guess what you get treated like? Like you don't exist because you're a fiction. That's the problem. That's why so-called blacks don't get any rights, because blacks don't have rights because it don't exist. It's a figment of somebody's imagination. You see what I'm saying? So when I'm operating in the figment of somebody's imagination, I can't get no results from that. There's no, doesn't take a rocket science to figure that out. I don't know, what's your ethnic background? I don't want to assume. Okay, so you would be European descent. That's what we'll say. Okay. He's not white either. That's a fiction. We all know white and black are colors in a crayon or colors on a color wheel. That's what that is. So if he was to identify himself as white, he's not even identifying with who he truly is. You see what I'm saying? And this is where we have fell from the grace of God. Because we're taking on titles and calling ourselves things that the Creator didn't give us. And we have to get back to what we was given and learn what that is. Now, let's see. Let me see who called. Right here, this brother. You can pass that dictionary over to him. And the word American. See, where do you hear this word American? When you're here, what do you hear? You hear U.S. citizen, right? That's right. You hear that term, U.S. citizen. You don't hear American at all. And what you don't hear is what you need to be looking for. When you hear U.S. citizen, run for the hills. Run. It's probably on a torn page because I done switched to that page so many times. That page is wore out. And I got it underlined in red, bro. I think you're on it. There it is right there. There it is. Nice and loud.
A native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals of copper-colored races.
You got it.
Found here by Europeans.
Don't worry about it. You said enough. I think we heard that, right? I'll just reinforce it and read it again. But you did good. Thank you. You did good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Give those brothers a hand for helping us out here. All right. I'm going to read it again with a little, it says, American, a native of America originally applied to the Aboriginals. Aboriginal means they were here first, okay? Or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans. So, how many copper-colored people in this room right now? Y'all should all be raising your hand. You see? I need to pull out a penny. That's why they got Abraham Lincoln on he's the only copper penny because he's a traitor and his head is facing another way, right? Because they claim he turned the back on the white man, right? So, y'all copper-colored, right? So, how many of y'all from Africa? I'm glad y'all making my job easy. I ain't got to go prove to y'all who y'all are. So, if you're an Aboriginal, you're from this land, because they want to call y'all African American, right? That's another fiction. How can you be African American? That's two different continents. And what part of American are you? Because there's North America, South America, Central America, right? So all of those are all Americans, from Canada down to Peru. Those are all American people. I travel, right? So I go to another country and they ask me where I'm from. I gotta be careful about hitting this mic. Where I'm from, and I say where I'm from. Oh, you're an American, right? But I'm here. I go to the DMV. You're a U.S. citizen. That's the term they're using. And how many people think U.S. citizen and American is the same thing? Be honest. You? Come on. All right, you? Okay. They're not. They're not. Let me show you. They're not the same thing. And understand that law is very precise. So if you're not, if American is not on that document, then it doesn't apply to you. Okay? So you look at any tax return, it never says American. It all says U.S. citizen. And see, a lot of people go into court and argue that point. Well, I'm this and I'm that, right? I'm a state citizen. I'm a North Carolinian or whatever, right? Gotta be careful with that one too, because these states have sold everybody out so that everybody falls into one category, so they can do one thing, is take money out of your pocket. But let's look this up. This is actual a case. Nah, that'll restrict me. I sit down. I might sit down for a few things to show y'all something. You know what? That's a good suggestion. Give me, so I could play with this computer. That is a good suggestion. Thank you for that. Okay. Right. Aboriginal, everything. Well, our whole language is derived off Latin. The whole language. So if you really want to know the meaning of something, you need to go look at the Latin word for it. I think it's in here, Aboriginal. Really, it's indigenous. The word you need to use is indigenous, natives, indigenous. But I know what you're talking about, Aboriginal, meaning not. That word ab, that does mean not in Latin. Now, in this dictionary, it says Aboriginal, ab or origo, and he got L here standing for Latin. According to this, it says an original or primitive inhabitant, but that's how he's defined it. But if you really dig into the word, he's absolutely right about that ab part being not. So what it's really saying, not original, is the point he's trying to make. But really, it's indigenous, or native of the land. All right, you were born here. No one was born in Africa in this room. No one. Okay, so that means this is your land. How many people here got family members with air property, or know of land that your people have? Things like that. I have. My family had air property until they sold it all. It was about 35 acres or so, but they had all this land, and then it just keeps passing on to the eldest relatives, right? How many? Just two people? Everybody should be raising their hand on that, right? You see? When you start thinking, just even when you heard we got land down south somewhere, that's what they say, right? Y'all never heard of that? I know there's more people than that. Just about, I would put money on it that everybody in this room is connected in some way to multiple acres of land somewhere in this country. Now, what I want y'all to think about is this. If just about half this room done raised their hand and said they know of some of that, then how was y'all enslaved and have all this land? Something's wrong with that picture. Where did y'all get this land? Because so far as I know, since I've been born, they've been trying to take everything I got from me. And anything I got close to getting, it was moving the needle out of my way. You see what I'm saying? So how was these family members able to maintain acres throughout these different generations of people? Because slavery just really ended maybe, 150 years, some odd, 1865, right? That's what they say. You look very familiar. Red shirt. You, yeah. 1865, right? So let's look up this whole business. Transportation. Yours is. Okay. I have a car lot too, which I've never seen. Somebody else deals with it. But yeah, I just mainly got it because I wanted that license to be able to get the cars. You said you had a business, right? What you have? Transportation. All right, 2 transportation. Anybody else? Anybody dreaming of a business? No? Okay, what is it? Locksmith. That's a good business, man. Especially when it comes to them cars. They charging $300 to open a car with them fobs, or $500 a time. I'm like, whoa, I'm in the wrong business. What about you? Okay. All right, this is a case. This has actually been tried in appellate court, 1966. And I actually did a video on it. It's on YouTube. By the way, that's why I'm on YouTube. Look at Akiem. That's my radio name. I didn't tell you I got a radio station too, but this is how I got here. One of the other brothers listened to me. I've been doing it for 5 years, and I teach on things like this in depth. Like I go in, I read the things like that, and then I have on my website the actual. I can't teach everything out in the open. Like in a private setting, like right here, as long as this brother can guarantee me he don't put it on the internet, I'll say some things I'll never say in public here. Right. So there's some things I'm going to show y'all I would never, if it ain't in one of my webinars, it'll be in my webinars, but if there's some things I'm going to reveal today that I would never say in an open forum. Not because it's dangerous information, it's because they don't want y'all to have certain information. And the moment you put it out there, this is why we always have problems. We just want to go let everybody know I know this. And then they come in and try to subvert you from, getting your remedy. Even if it's the right thing to do, they'll do that. They'll make sure you don't get it. So there's some things I'm going to show y'all. Show you how to deal with debt. Debt is the easiest thing out there to get rid of. Once you see what's going on, okay, this is simple. This is how the brother got rid of all the student loans. How many student loan people got in here? Yeah, you get rid of student loans. And the student loans is easy because there's this one simple thing people don't understand. When you get a student loan, it's always passed off to someone else. So what happens is it falls up under third-party debt collector rules. Once you give that loan, give it to someone else to collect. See, I only signed a contract with this bank, right? But this bank never is the one to collect the money. They give it off to what? Navient, which is a contractor for the United States U.S. Department of Education to collect all student loans throughout the country. So Navient is a third-party debt collector. Just like anybody else, I don't owe you jack. Know who else is the third? Know who is the #1 third-party debt collector in this country? Somebody take a wild guess. Say it again. And how many people you know get locked up, get your wages garnished because of the IRS? And they are a third-party debt collector, and guess what? They fall up under the same rules. She says they can't do it. But let's look at this case here. So I can show y'all the difference, that there's a difference between a U.S. citizen and an American. Now, in this document, it's not going to talk about American, but it's going to show you the distinction in this case. This is a case about a guy who wanted to be the sheriff of a town, right? And they said he couldn't be the sheriff because he wasn't a U.S. citizen, right? So here it is. You got that nice and big there? Let me try to make it a little bigger so y'all could. Yeah. All right. It says, after argument by per curiam order, we reversed the order of the Superior Court of Baltimore City, which denied the appellant's petition for a writ of mandamus. A writ of mandamus is if you go to a state official, any type of official, he's not doing his job, you could do a writ of mandamus, take him to court to compel him to do his job. Like, how many people try to file something down at the clerk's court office and you know your stuff was right and they wouldn't accept it? Anybody in here tried that? Right? They wouldn't accept it. You know your stuff was right. They give you some bogus reason. Well, you could do a writ of mandamus to compel them to do that. Now, You know who does a lot of writ of mandamuses? One state agency against another. All the time. But you have the right to do that too. But you don't know about these writs. And a lawyer would never tell you this. He's not going to show you this. So that's what a writ of mandamus. Y'all need to write that down because you might need it one day. To compel the, she says writ of mandamus, to compel the Board of Supervisors of the elections of Baltimore City to accept and certify his candidacy. See, that's, so he did a writ of mandamus. For sheriff of Baltimore City, and ordered that the mandate directing the writ of mandamus prayed for below be issued forthwith. The reasons for our order follow. The question involved is whether the appellant is qualified to become a candidate under the provisions of Article 4, Section 44 of the Maryland Constitution. The material provisions of that section are as follows. There shall be elected in each county and in Baltimore City one person, residents in said county or city above the age of 25 years, at least 5 years preceding his election, a citizen of the state, to the office of sheriff. Something very profound here. He needs to be a citizen of the state to the office of sheriff, right? So they're alluding that there's two types of citizenship. There's a citizenship of the state and there's a citizenship somewhere else. Let's keep going. All right, I'm not going to read all of this stuff. That's too much. Let's start here. Both before and after the 14th Amendment, that's a very important amendment to read and understand, side stand, because everything in that provision is what took all of y'all rights, and I'm going to prove it to y'all right after this. Y'all think who in here think the 14th Amendment is doing y'all a favor, helping y'all? Because that gives you all of these rights, supposedly, right? That's what y'all taught, right? It gives you the right to vote. It gives you the right to be a citizen. The story they told was it gave the slaves right of citizenship, right? But if you was never a slave, then you don't. And that's what I'm saying. Nobody in this room was ever a slave, not even your ancestors. And when you look at the calendars, stuff is not going, when I start showing y'all photos, stuff is not going to jive with calendars. Remember this date, 1865 is when slavery ended. Remember that, because that's going to be something to remember when I show you this next document. And you were like, wait a minute, how can slavery end? This is happening now. This don't make sense. But when you got men just writing stuff, whatever they want, they can put anything on paper and then shove it in your face in school and call it history. And it's just that. His story. It's not facts. A lot of the stuff in history, most of it is all fiction. A work of someone's imagination to get you to walk down a certain path. Now, what I notice about people, especially historians, especially black, or what we call black, or people that look like us, they'll say how a lot of stuff is lie, but they never debunk the whole diaspora from Africa deal. They never debunk that. And if you just sit there and just think about it, if I take millions of people from one side of the planet and bring them on this side of the planet, what did I just do to the ecological balance of that area? Especially if I don't even know how to work the land, right? I'm going to bring a bunch of, are you going to hire me for your company if I don't know how to do the work? Okay, right? Because if I go bring all these people, I got to train them on how to work the land. Now, here's the other thing. You from Europe and you came here to settle, you ain't even know how to work the land. Okay? So how are you going to teach somebody else how to work the land? I'm just using common sense here. Like, just without picking up a book, listen, we start thinking like how, unless those people was already here and they already knew how to use the land, and we took what we call plantations, their home, and turned them into slave mills. That makes more sense to me than it does. But how do you do that? You had to start reclassifying. It was too many indigenous people here to come with. They didn't even have enough guns for them. And they were a lot more advanced than what they taught in the book. They wasn't wearing all of these little skirts and cloth things, and they had civilization. All you got to do is look up the Great Law of Peace. It shows you what they had. and where the Constitution came from. I got a video on that too. It gets deep. And we could be here 3 days and I won't get halfway through. You see what I'm saying? But let's go back to this. Both before and after the 14th Amendment to the federal Constitution, it has not been necessary for a person to be a citizen of the United States in order to be a citizen of his state. Did y'all hear that? So that's two different classes. How many people knew that? That it was a difference. This is a court case. Now I want you to notice the case. See, it says United States is upper and lower and state is lowercase. Always pay attention to how things are styled, capitalized, because they all mean something in law. Somebody got a piece of mail in their pocket, like from bank, whatever, without showing your business. And what style is it? What style is it on that document? All uppercase. Is that your name? It's your name. You believe that. But I just said law is precise. So let's look at this. Let's look at it. Let's look. This is a manual of usage and style out of Texas. This is the Texas Law Review. Okay. So let's what it says about proper nouns. You know, a name, what is a noun? Person, place, or thing, right? Okay, right? So in here, it says, go to it. Let's find it. Proper nouns and common nouns. Capitalize all proper nouns, meaning the first letter of that, like my name is Akiem, so A would be capitalized, rest lowercase, right? Is that like that on your paper? So is that your name? Oh, so it's not your name, right? So we established that if that name is in all capitals, it's not you at all. Doesn't represent anything, but we have accepted a lot of things with these all caps, or not even paid attention. We just looked at the spelling. Somebody tell me how many letters are in the alphabet. This sounds like a trivial question, but I got it wrong. 26. Anybody else with a different answer? Wrong. Everybody in this room got it wrong. It's 52. 26 lower, 26 upper. Remember how the teacher taught you? She put the capital letter over here and the lowercase over here. You see what I'm saying? It's 52. So if his name is in all caps and then it's not properly formed, and this is a law review book showing them how to style legal papers. So when I go into courtroom and I see my name in all caps, we got a problem here. Like, I'm sorry, I see that looks familiar. The letters are right, but the styling is wrong. This is not me. We can't do anything with this case until we fix that, no matter what it is. And they're putting your name in that way for a reason. But we'll get into that a little bit later. I just wanted you to pay attention because everything I'm showing you leads up to what I'm going to show later. So the citizen of his state, it's got it lowercase. So that represents a foreign jurisdiction. That's why it's saying citizen of his state, right? So United States versus Cruikshank, I could be pronouncing that all, 92 U.S. 542 49 1875. That means that if you want to find that case, you type that in, that case took place. Slaughterhouse cases, these are all of the authorities. Whenever you see these, this is what courtrooms use as authorities to make a point, to prove their case. They call them authorities. Or they call it, another word is, in layman's terms, case law. But you'll never see them use case law in the courtroom. They'll say points of authorities. So if you're fighting a case, don't say case law. Use points of authorities, in this case, such and such. Citizenship of the United States is defined by the 14th Amendment and federal statutes. But the requirements of citizenship of a state, see, they did it again, lowercase. What they did that for a reason, because the state has a name, right? We're in Georgia. So I'm going to say Georgia right? But Georgia would be capitalized, as G would be the capitalized letter. Giving y'all a bit of English lesson here. But the requirements of citizenship of a state generally depend not upon definition, but thank you, appreciate that, but the constitutional or statutory context in which the term is used. Let's skip down. The decision illustrates the diversity of terms usage. They're just telling you, terms have diversity of usage. See, most of us only know one point of view of a subject, and even that point of view is wrong. You know? In Field versus Adrian, 7 MD 209, 1854, our predecessors held that a unnaturalized foreigner residing and doing business in this state was a citizen of Maryland. See? That points to you, citizen of Maryland. Within the meaning of the attachment laws, the court held that the absconding debtor was a citizen of the state for commercial or business purposes. Although, so they're saying you could be a citizen of the state just for commercial purposes. Only. And there's a lot of citizens of the state that are not even living. They call them businesses. So when you register your business, it becomes say if I measure here in Georgia, it becomes a Georgia state person or a Georgia state citizen. But if I come from Colorado and register my business here, it becomes a foreign corporation or foreign business. You see? So businesses have citizenship just like you have citizenship. But what they have done is they took the living blood and converted it into that all caps, because that's a business that they're referring to. That's why it's in all caps. It's an acronym for a business. In another place, you'll find all caps is on the tombstone. That's when someone's deceased, they death certificate come out all caps, and they put that all caps on the thing. So that means that the government, if they hand you a document in all caps, consider you civilly dead. This is why black, white, all of these people don't have rights, because they're civilly dead. But only one place you could be called civilly dead. Someone's got to take you to court, sue to take away your civil rights, and say he's civilly dead. And that's what all black people are, civilly dead. So if I'm on TV claiming that, I'm civilly dead. So I could break all the windows I want, yell and scream around all I want, I'm civilly dead. The court held that okay, we read that. Although not necessarily for political purposes, and it's to the same effect. Judge Alvey for the court said in that case that the term citizen used in the formula of the affidavit prescribed by the 4th section of the article of the code referred to is to be taken as synonymous with inhabitant or permanent residence, right? Other jurisdictions have equated residence with citizenship of the state for political and other non-political purposes. In Wellitz, 16 WIS 443446, 1863, held that the Wisconsin statute designating all able-bodied white male citizens as subject to enrollment in the militia included an unnaturalized citizen who was resident of the state. Under our complex system of government, the court said there may be a citizen of a state who is not a citizen of the United States. This is very important to IRS code. Very important. So when they come to say, I gotta pay taxes, I ain't a U.S. citizen. So y'all code only refers to U.S. citizen. It don't say American national. It don't say North Carolinian American national. See, I'm calling myself everything they not calling me. Because now we've established there's a difference, but there's something in here that's more powerful than what I just showed you in this case, in regards to your sheriff and how much power he got to help you in this room. You see? So let's keep reading this. I read this case because we have to understand where our power lies. Closely in point to the interpretation of the Constitution provisions here involved is a report of the Committee of Elections of the House of Representatives made in 1823. A petitioner had objected to, excuse me, I need a little bit of water. The right of delegate to retain his seat from what was then the Michigan Territory. One of the objections was that the delegate had not resided in the territory for 1 year previous to the election am I missing something there? In the status of citizen of the United States. An act of Congress passed in 1819 provided that every free white male citizen of this territory above the age of 21 years, let me help y'all understand what they're talking about, free white males of this territory. Remember, the European, when they settled here, created 13 colonies. So when they talking about that, they're talking about those colonies. Y'all not a part of that. That's their thing. Okay? But what they did was, when they created those colonies, they had to figure out how to create them. Guess who they went to get the information? Your ancestors. The Constitution is written off of the Great Law of Peace of the Iroquois Confederation. That's not even their true name. Iroquois is what the French called them. It's called the Haudenosaunee tribe people, along with the something wolf. It was 4 of the tribes there, which they called 5 civilized tribes, because those are the only ones that the American, well, the settlers calling them the 5 civilized, because that was the only ones they could get along with. So, but it was so many tribes, and I'm gonna show you that it was thousands of different tribes. So they didn't know how to create a constitution, because they said, listen, if you want peace in your colonies, you're gonna have to do what we did when we were warring with each other. You have to create these constitution and live by it. But what they did was they only took portions of the Constitution from them. What they did, they took all of the part that related to the males and left out everything that related to the females. Kind of like how the Bible is written. That's how I know the Bible is super revised, because it took the power away from the woman. But in our indigenous society, the women had huge power. They chose the chief. The chief was chosen by what they call the clan mother. But they chose him, but he still had to be vetted by the other chiefs. And it was 50 of them. How many states we got? Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you, there's 2 governments we're dealing with. We got the U.S. government, and we got the indigenous people government. Y'all didn't know that government is still around, right? It's still here. How many people went to school with somebody and they was from a tribe and they didn't have to pay student loans and all of that? Huh? They attached themselves to their true government. And when they fill out that paperwork, all their stuff prepaid. That was part of the agreement. But they got y'all thinking the Indian folks look like him or a little bit lighter. They ain't got you saying that y'all the indigenous people. That's what they don't want y'all to know. And if you look around, you go to all of these little vacation towns like Virginia Beach, West Palm Beach, within blocks of these tourist areas is all of you that they push back so they can take the best part of the land. And then our foolish butts sent out, we believed in what Martin Luther King said, equal rights. And what equal rights didn't mean equal rights. It meant equal rights because what it did was it took what they were calling white and elevated them above a status of you, because you had a higher status. I'm going to prove it. Because you came from the indigenous government and you always have rights to land. You're not supposed to pay taxes on land. You're not supposed to be paying taxes on income. Actually, nobody's supposed to be, for that matter. But that was part of the agreement, but they don't live up to these agreements. And the reason why they don't live up to the agreements is because you are calling yourself something else. You're identifying, and some of y'all get confused when you fill out a paperwork. It says U.S. citizen, yes or no. What would you check? What do you do? Most of y'all checking yes. As soon as you check that box, all rights out the window. You know you ain't got to check that box, right? You can just say no. But see, they got you mentally screwed up so bad that you think you have to do something no one ever told you had to do. How many people said, you got to check off U.S. citizen? Who came up? You just saw it, and they knew the mind trick, and you just checked it. Whoop, whoop, black, African American, whoop. But there was a box that said other, right? You could have checked that. Or you could have just did what God tell you to do. Have dominion and write in who you are. Cross all that stuff out and write it in. You do it, you know you have a right to do that. You know how you have a right? Because it says if you need to attach any additional papers to this document, just put it on a new paper and attach it to it. That's what that is. You attach your story on there. Hey, this is who I am. Your paperwork doesn't represent me. Here's me. At the DMV, they have who I am on record. So when I walk into the DMV, I'm treated a little different than everybody else because I'm not walking in as a U.S. citizen. Now, that's a tough walk because everybody looking at you all weird and stuff. I don't care because none of them paying no bills for me at home. So y'all can look at me crazy all you want. All I know is every money I make goes 100% to the cause I want it to go to. Whether I'm being charitable, taking care of my children, paying my bills, every last dime, every dollar I get go to that cause. Now, I still haven't defeated, I know somebody going to say, you got rid of car taxes and home taxes. No, I haven't. Those are very tough things to work on, but I am working on it, and best believe it will happen. But, okay, where was I? Was I here? Here. Above the age of 21 years, who shall have resided therein 1 year next proceeding. An election shall be entitled to vote as such election for a delegate to Congress. They just told you don't have a right to vote for no president. It just says you're entitled to vote at such election for a delegate to Congress to vote for president. Okay? An Act of 1823 provided that all citizens of the United States having the qualifications set forth in the former act shall be eligible to any office in the territory. The committee held that the statutory requirement of citizenship of the territory for a year before the election did not mean that the aspirant for office must also have been a United States citizen during that period, just emphasizing even more. The report said it is the person, the individual, the man who is spoken of, who is to possess the qualifications of residence, age, freedom, etc., at the time he offers to vote or is to be voted for. Upon the filing of the report and the submission of resolution that the delegate was entitled to his seat, the contestant of the delegate's election withdrew his protest and the sitting delegate was confirmed. There is no express requirement in Maryland Constitution that sheriffs be United States citizens. Huh? 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 So a sheriff is not a U.S. citizen. Huh? Huh? Then what is he? What is he? Right. Okay. Right? Voters must be under Article 1, Section 1, but Article 4, Section 44 does not require that sheriffs be voters. Huh? Huh? Wait. That means that sheriff got some power. Because he's in all courtrooms, his deputies are. He's serving all court processes, right? Okay. Okay. Let's keep reading. A person does not have to be a voter to be citizen of either the United States or of a state, as in the case of native-born minors. In Maryland, from 1776 to 1802, the Constitution contained the native-born citizens of the state, Steiner citizenship and suffrage in Maryland, 1895, 27,31. The Maryland Constitution provides that the governor, judges, and the attorney general shall be qualified voters and therefore by necessarily implications citizens of the United States. So attorney generals and governors got to be citizens of the United States, right? Article 2, Section 5, Article 4, Section 2, and Article 5, Section 4, the absence of a similar requirement as the qualification of sheriff is significant. So also, in our opinion, is the absence of any period of residence for a sheriff except that he shall have been a citizen of the state for 5 years. The governor, judges, and attorney general, in addition to being citizens of the state and qualified voters, must have been residents of the state for various periods. Forgive me, y'all. I haven't done a seminar since March because of COVID. My voice usually don't go out this early, but we'll get through. The conjunction of the requisite period of residence with state citizenship in the qualifications for sheriff strongly indicates that, as in the authorities above referred to, state citizenship, and as used in the Constitution qualification for this office, was meant to be synonymous with domicile, and that citizenship of the United States is not required, even by implication, as a qualification for this office. The office of sheriff under our Constitution is ministerial in nature. Anybody know what that word means? They use that term in other stuff. Ministerial. Relating to minister of religion. Relating to a government minister or ministers. So you're telling me the sheriff is a ministerial position, meaning it is actually a religious position. You see what I'm saying? This is why he can't be a U.S. citizen, because he has to owe allegiance to who? To a higher power. He's upholding law. Why shouldn't he be held to a higher power? Right? We know these sheriffs are not acting under that authority right now, right? The reason why, because you haven't activated it. You haven't asked him to run that role. He runs dual roles. He runs a role in the interest of the state where he's going to tow your car, write you tickets and all of that. But his main role is to protect your rights. But if you come to him as black and African American, he ain't listening to nothing. Okay? So let's keep going, because it gets even better. A sheriff's function in province is to execute the duties prescribed by law. It may well be that the phrase "a citizen of the state," as used in the Constitution provision as to the qualification, implies that a sheriff cannot owe allegiance to another nation. Huh? So in the board of the sheriff, he has to have sole allegiance within that state, his territory. Sheriffs only work in counties, right? Or provinces. In Louisiana, they call them parishes. Those are all other words for county. They're all the same. Okay? All right? By the Nationality Act of 1779, the legislature provided that to become a citizen of Maryland, an alien must swear allegiance to the state. The oath of affirmation provided that the applicant renounce allegiance to any king, prince, or any other state or government. In this case, on the admitted facts, there can be no question of the appellant's undivided allegiance. So to be a sheriff, he can't be a U.S. citizen, because that's a ministerial position. And his sole function is to operate the law in his county. So this is the guy you must address when you got issues, any court. You know, what happens when you get a court order? How do they enforce them? The sheriff. So, it says, this is the 14th Amendment that everybody believe that they got rights under. Right? It says, all persons born and naturalized in the United States, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States and of the state. You see how they got that capitalized? It ain't lowercase, right? So they're not talking about Georgia, North Carolina. They're talking about another state. They're talking about Puerto Rico, outline of islands of Samoa. Those are United States territories. That's what they're talking about. And they fall up under this state. None of y'all was born in any of those places. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges and immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall, and them little things work pretty good, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. You hear this all the time, that this is giving you rights. and it's not. And if I skip down, oh, just on a side note, if you want to know if your vote count, it says it right here that your vote don't count. This is in the 14th Amendment. Representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding who? Why did they stick that in there in the voting provision? See, they stuck that in there because they know no one would pay attention to it. And if I call them Indians, you don't think you're an Indian, you won't even pay attention to that. You don't think that apply to you, but that's you. That's what I use to get out of taxes. Right there. It says excluded. Why does it say we're talking about the apportion of representatives, but then they stick in here excluding Indians not taxed? Why is that there? Because it should be a whole paragraph on that. But they got to, well, we're going to give them something and just stick it in this little place where they can't see it. They don't even know they're Indians anyway, so it don't even matter. Right? But we know that's not the true title, Indians. Right? But Indians just means what? Indigenous peoples of that land. Right? So, but when the right to vote at any election for the choice of electors for president and vice president of the United States, representatives in Congress, the executive and judicial officers of the state, or the members of the legislation thereof, y'all ready? Is denied to any of the male inhabitants of such state. It just said that it's illegal to vote. So them people go in that box, they're doing something illegal. And somebody said that. Somebody said that publicly, right? He said, y'all going to vote. Y'all doing something illegal anyway. And that's why they so against him. Because he telling y'all the truth. And he telling y'all the truth. And they don't want y'all to know it. That's why they coming against him. Now he's fighting the election, right? And he said, he's not being a gentleman. He just won't concede. What they actually saying is he won't give up his right to have the vote counted properly. There was one guy who did a whole video. It's just a tradition that, one guy, when he sees he can't win, he just concedes. Know how I interpret that? It's always been a good old boy system. If you really pay attention, what they did was, y'all remember the Al Gore Bush thing, that whole fiasco, right? And he conceded, right? Why? Because they went behind closed doors. Okay, you concede. I'm going to take this thing. We're going to do this for you. Just you concede. Because if it goes through the proper process, the real voting don't happen until December. The Electoral College is the one who chooses the president. So who cares? All these voting they did, they can still go behind closed doors and say, this is who we want. For real. That's the way it's supposed to be done according to the Constitution. So they're trying to tell Trump to give up his constitutional rights and just go with this old good old boy system they've been playing. And that's why they don't like him. I'm not saying I'm a Trump fan. What I'm saying is I know the law and I know who's right and who's wrong. Just the 14th Amendment, then you go to this last part of the 14th Amendment, which is very telling. Hold on. There's something else missing. Where's the part missing here? This part. It says, the Congress shall have power to enforce by appropriate legislation provisions of this article. So they're showing you that the Congress has power over anything that has to do with the United States. So if you're in that jurisdiction, yeah, you got to follow those rules. But if you're not in that jurisdiction, those rules don't apply. This is why Trump can file multiple bankruptcies and still be a billionaire. Because he knows something. Instead of being upset with him about that, try to find out what is it about these bankruptcies that's making him rich. Because they wrote those bankruptcy laws for them to stay rich. Y'all all should be looking at the bankruptcy. All right, y'all saw that. So let's go to this. I read that, and I read that for a reason. Usually I read it another way around. But that's all right. Y'all see y'all see I've been doing a lot of studying. Let's go to this here. Y'all ever heard of Pitchfork Ben Tillman? You ever heard of him? Never? Pittsburgh Ben Tillman. You ever heard of Clemson University? Yeah. Yeah. He founded that school. Y'all know a lot of us go to this school. And y'all might rethink how y'all view that school after I read this. Why we are in the position we are in. Right now, this guy had a hand in it. And this is why, I won't tell you, I won't even reveal it. I'll just read it. Yes, you go to the website and About Me page, they talk all about him, and you wouldn't believe what they got on there, and people still going to this school. I'm like, are these people sleeping? Well, because now it's coming out. Black Lives Matter, they're bringing it out, but it's been there all the time. Just go to the About Me page. They talk about this man and how racist he was. Him and a certain group of people is the reason why y'all all screwed up right now in this system. Him, right there. And I'm like, why do these people trying to get this so that we could see the whole thing? Hold on. All right, so I'm gonna have to read it across. I'm trying to make it a little smaller. Let's see this. All right. That's good? All right. Oh, I don't want that. All right, y'all can see that? Okay, good. All right, I'm gonna need the pointer for this one. This one might give y'all a headache. All right, and Senator John C. Spooner of Wisconsin, said we had taken their rights away from them. Who you think they talking about? All right. He asked me, was it right to murder them in order to carry the elections? I'm still dealing with this type of stuff today. So did we really make progress? All right. I never saw one shot in an election. It was the riots before the election, participated by their own hot-headedness and attempting to hold the government. Hold, love. When did our people ever hold that government? When? When did you learn about that in school? When? Somebody tell me. Y'all never, it just said, I'm reading it. By the way, this is a congressional record. You can go get this. This is where, it's on the internet, but you can get a certified copy from the National Archives. That brought on conflicts between the races caused the shotgun to be used. That is what I meant by saying we use the shotgun. So to help my voice, I need somebody to read that next paragraph for me. How about Queen right here? So what is he saying about the Republican Party? He's trying to say that your ancestors were Republicans. That's what he's saying. They were all Republicans, right? But for some reason, our brain-fed people want to be Democrats because what? Civil rights movement. And y'all need to go read Brown versus Education and read the whole case. Don't just skim through it, read the whole case, and you'll see why they even tried to push that. It wasn't for your benefit. It was to get you away from your ancestral teachings into their schools so you could be miseducated. Because in the bottom of the document, it says that the Indians had their own school and the whites nor the blacks, whites or Negro colored, could go to their schools. They were totally separated. See, you notice they use this word Negro? We're going to look up that word in a second. Because it ain't what you think it is. Okay? I want to ask the senator this proposition in arithmetic. In my state, there was 135,000 Negro voters or Negroes of voting age, and some 90,000 or 95,000 white voters. Back then, this was at a time, because remember, this is 1868, and they started switching names up, and all of a sudden, your ancestors became Negroes. But Negro had a different meaning before that, right? So this paragraph says 135,000 Negroes to 95,000 white voters. So this was, we didn't get to the year just yet. See, 1876, almost 11 years after slavery was done with. So how come we have such a disparity in voters? Because remember, you couldn't read, you couldn't write, you was Kunta Kinte, you was totally ignorant, right? But how they all of a sudden they got this outnumbered and they was able to vote, right? They was educated enough to go vote. I'm just trying to get y'all to think. So General Canby set up a carpet by government there and turned our state over to this majority. Y'all was always called a minority, huh? To this day. But if you really look around, y'all not a minority. Y'all a minority by the name y'all calling yourselves. And the reason why, see, they're a majority on paper, but in physical, they're not. They represent only 25% of this planet. The rest is of the 75, 80 is people of color. If you go travel around, how many people travel outside of this America and been somewhere else? Where you been? And everywhere you go, you've seen people like this, right? It wasn't just you, right? Right. He said, now, I've never had anybody in my class bring those three countries. He said Germany, Kuwait, and you saw plenty. So how are we getting on? And they weren't in the army, right? Okay. First-hand knowledge. Now, I've been to Dominican Republic. I've been to Mexico, Honduras, Jamaica. And over there, same thing. Place that really shocked me was Dominican Republic because all of the literature showed all these really fair-skinned people. Man, I went over there and people were darker than me. I mean darker. When I say dark, I mean dark. And I was like, whoa, that was a wake-up call. And then my wife at the time, her mother had an injury, so we had to go to the hospital. And I'm going to the hospital. They just talking to me like Spanish because they think I'm them. Right? So I'm like, wait, I don't speak Spanish. But everywhere I go, it was very few fair-skinned people. But when you go on the little tours, this is how information gets spread, the lies get spread. You go on the little tours, they tell a story from the Christopher Columbus side. And I'm sitting in this castle that they claim Christopher Columbus was part of or lived in. And then the spirit hit me and said, these are all props. This is all for show. Right? So it took me a few years to prove it. So I went to Mexico for my birthday. I was just in Cabo San Lucas. We went on a tour, and the guy is telling the story, and it almost sounded like the same story I heard in Dominican Republic. I said, these are planned speeches. He's talking about the indigenous people with blonde, blue-eyed people in Mexico. I was like, what? Are you nuts? When Mexico was part of the United States at one time? That was all one country till they broke off. And Texas was the only state that stayed part of Mexico until they did a Declaration of Independence. Did y'all know about that one? Go look up the Declaration of Independence for Texas. It's there. This is why Texas do everything different. They pretty much, Georgia's its own country. I'm going to prove that in a second. So we got this disparity in number. He said, now I want to ask you with the free vote and fair count, how are you going to beat 135,000, 95,000? So they didn't want to win fairly. You're just going to keep losing because the people that represent your interests, you ain't got enough. Okay? How are you going to do it? You had set us on an impossible task. You had handcuffed us and thrown away the key. You propped up your carpet-rag Negro government with bayonets. Wait a minute. You mean you telling me not only did they have the government, they also had an army? When did you learn this in school? This is a certified record from the government. They will tell you that Reconstruction. They tell you that stuff, Reconstruction, we had a part and just gave us this little. No, that ain't true, because I'm about to show you a picture that proves that wrong. Right? Whenever it was necessary to sustain the government, you held it up by the army. They saying, y'all people had army. We had it together. So, let's keep going. I'll let somebody read this one. Mr. President. Started Mr. President. You, brother. Thank you. Yeah, I need to do the same thing. Necessity forced upon us.
Forced upon us, I help as a white man, not sorry for it.
Home. But now, South Carolina goes Republican all the time, right? Okay. He said, we did not disenfranchise the Negroes until 1895. Very important year. Most of your new constitutions, when they did amendments, started around that time. That's when they started paper genociding your ancestors. Okay? Then we had a constitutional convention convened, which took the matter up calmly, deliberately, and avowedly with the purpose of disenfranchising as many of them as we could under what? So do the 14th and 15th Amendment help you at all? No, it don't. No, it don't. That I didn't write that. They did. They will never show you this in the history books that that's what they did. So as soon as you took on the fact that you under the 14th Amendment, I got so many rights, this says you don't. The reason why it's so powerful is once you put you on a U.S. citizenship, you're no longer part of your tribe. See, what our people used to do